The observation deck of the UNS Resolute was silent except for the soft hum of instruments. Stars hung in the void, calm and eternal, as if mocking the unease that had crept into Captain Elena Varga's bones. For 2 centuries, Earth had sworn itself to neutrality. Let the Zorti tear apart their neighbors, let the Varic Empire rise and fall. Humanity built walls, not warships, at least that's what the galaxy believed. But tonight something stirred beyond the edge of known space. Captain! Her censor officer, Lieutenant Mara Iqbal, broke the silence. I've got movement on the long-range net. Multiple contacts. Formation pattern military. Elena straightened, her dark eyes narrowing. Identify. No transponders. But their drive signatures. Mara swallowed. They match Dracthory profiles. The words sent a chill through the command deck. The Dracthory Dominion did not scout. They devoured. Elena forced her voice steady. Range? 60 AUs out, advancing on EOS 3. Her stomach dropped. EOS 3 wasn't just any colony, it was one of Earth's most vulnerable outposts. Civilian mining domes, hydrofarms, and no orbital defenses worth mentioning. A declaration of intent if she ever saw one. Commander Holt, her XO, muttered under his breath. Of all the enemies to provoke. They're not provoking, Elena said grimly. They're sending a message. The Dominion was known for crushing neutral worlds that dared to prosper outside their control. For centuries, Earth avoided notice by staying small, unthreatening. But now, prosperity had painted a target on their back. Open a line to Fleet Command, Elena ordered. The hollow panel flickered, revealing Admiral Jian's sharp, weathered face. Report Resolute. Admiral, Elena said, keeping her tone clipped, professional. We've confirmed Dominion fleet movement toward EOS 3. Estimate arrival in 72 hours. The Admiral's frown deepened. Damn it. We knew they'd test us eventually. Orders? Elena asked. Hold position. Do not engage until we know their intent. Jian hesitated, his voice lowering. Officially, we are still a neutral power. Elena bit down the retort, burning her tongue. Intent? The Dominion's intent was painted in fire across half the galaxy. Waiting meant watching civilians die. Understood, she said tightly. When the line cut, Holt leaned close. We really going to sit on our hands, Captain? Her jaw clenched. Neutrality had been Earth's shield, but against the Dominion, it was paper armor. Prepare the ship, she said finally. We'll be ready, even if command isn't. 2 days later, the Dominion fleet arrived at EOS 3. Elena stood on the deck as sensor feeds filled the screens. Black, spined warships slid into orbit, their hulls like blades against the stars. Civilian distress calls screamed through comm channels, panic, confusion, silence. Then a voice, guttural and cruel, broke through every frequency. I am Overlord Carthon of the Dracthory Dominion. By decree of conquest, EOS 3 is ours. Resist and you die. Submit, and perhaps some of you live. On screen, the first colony dome erupted in fire. Elena's fists tightened until her knuckles went white. She had heard stories of the Dominion's brutality, but witnessing it was different. Children, miners, farmers, burned alive to prove a point. Lieutenant Mara whispered. They're not even negotiating. They're slaughtering. They want Earth to watch, Elena said coldly. They want us to believe neutrality is weakness. Holt turned to her. Captain, we can't wait for command anymore. What's your call? Elena took a long breath. She remembered her father's words, spoken when she first earned her command, peace is precious, but never mistake it for safety. Her decision crystallized. Signal the fleet, she ordered. Her voice was calm, steady, carrying across the deck. Humanity stayed out of their wars. But war has come to us. Set course for EOS 3. The crew looked at her, fear in their eyes, yes, but something else too. Resolve. For the first time in 2 centuries, Earth was going to war. The emergency chamber beneath Geneva was a fortress of glass and steel. Its walls bore no banners, no insignias, only the projection of a burning world. EOS-3 smoldered across the room-sized holomap, a scar of red light against the cold void. The Council of Nations had been called into session, and tension crackled like static. For 2 centuries, humanity's leaders had avoided these rooms except for trade disputes and border agreements. Now, with millions dead or enslaved, neutrality itself was on trial. "They want submission," said Chancellor Rees of the South American Union, voice sharp, fingers drumming on the polished table. "We give it, or we lose everything." "They already took everything from EOS-3, snapped Prime Minister Okoro of the African Coalition. "Submission didn't save them." The voices rose, overlapping, fear, anger, defiance. Elena Varga sat at the far end, not as a politician but as the military's representative, summoned directly from the Resolute. She listened, jaw tight, watching leaders argue like schoolchildren while civilians were slaughtered. Finally, Admiral Jien cut through the noise. His gravelly voice silenced the chamber. "Enough. The Dominion has chosen war. The only question is whether we meet it with strength, or roll over and die." Some councillors flinched. Others straightened. The old admiral had a way of peeling away illusions. Rees turned his glare on Elena. "And what does your captain think? She's the one who saw them first." All eyes fell on her. Elena rose slowly, spine straight, every word measured. "They attacked without warning. They burned civilians alive. Their message was clear: neutrality means nothing. If Earth surrenders now, we won't survive as a people. We'll survive as slaves." She paused, her voice hardening. "But if we fight, we stand a chance." The chamber was silent for a heartbeat. Then Okoro nodded firmly. "Then we fight." Others followed, some reluctant, some grim. Rees muttered curses but raised no further objection. The decision was sealed. Admiral Jien turned to Elena. "The fleet needs a vanguard. You and the Resolute will intercept their next wave. Hold them off long enough for Earth to mobilize." Elena bowed her head. "Understood." Hours later, the Resolute drifted in high orbit over Luna Base. Docking arms disengaged with a hiss, and the ship glided free into the black. Her crew worked in practiced silence. Marines checked exosuits, engineers armed torpedoes, pilots calibrated drone fighters. No one spoke of fear, but it hung in the air like ozone before a storm. In the command deck, XO Holt adjusted his harness. "Orders from command are clear. We intercept at Proxima Gate. We'll be outnumbered at least 3-1. 3-1? Lieutenant Mara arched a brow. "That's generous." Nervous laughter rippled through the bridge. Elena let it run a moment. Sometimes humor was armor. Then she leaned forward. "Listen well," she said. Her voice cut clean through the tension. "For 200 years, humanity stayed silent. We let the galaxy believe we were weak. Tonight, that illusion ends. We're not fighting for conquest. We're fighting because the Dominion thinks we won't. Let's prove them wrong." The bridge answered with a chorus of, "Aye, Captain." The Resolute emerged from slipstream hours later at the Proxima Gate. Before them stretched a massive ring, ancient alien technology, predating both humans and Dracthri. It shimmered with faint blue light, a doorway into countless star systems. But tonight, it was a choke point. "Contacts," Mara reported, voice sharp. "Dominion scouts, 3 ships inbound." Elena studied the tactical display. Sleek, black Dracthri cruisers fanned out like predators circling prey. Their spikes glowed with weapon charges. "They see us," Holt murmured. "Good," Elena replied. A voice crackled over open comms, harsh and mocking. "Human vessel, this is Dominion Command. You stand in violation of Conquest Decree. Withdraw and submit, or be erased." Elena leaned forward, her expression carved from stone. "This is Captain Elena Varga of the United Nations ship Resolute. EOS-3 was a civilian world. You slaughtered unarmed people." The alien laughed, a guttural, rasping sound. "Weaklings die. Strong consume. That is the law of stars. Then hear this, Elena said, her voice dropping cold. For 2 centuries we chose peace. You mistook that for weakness. You won't make that mistake again. The line cut. Battle stations, Elena ordered. The void erupted. The first Dractari cruiser unleashed a volley of plasma bolts, searing across the black. The Resolute rolled hard, shields flaring under the impact. Return fire lanced from her cannons, bright white beams slicing across enemy armor. Target shields at 60%, Mara called out. Drone wings, launch! Holt barked. From the Resolute's belly, swarms of small, AI-guided fighters poured into space, darting like hornets around the enemy. Explosions flared as the drones drove into weak points, detonating in flashes of fire. Cruiser 1 is venting atmosphere. Cruiser 2 closing fast, ramming vector. Brace! The deck shuddered as the Dractari ships slammed into their starboard side. Alarms screamed, sparks showered from consoles. Crews screamed orders over the chaos. Seal that breach! Holt roared. Elena gripped her chair, vision steady amid the chaos. Bring torpedo batteries online. Target their reactor. Locked! Fire! The torpedoes streaked out, twin lances of light. A heartbeat later, the enemy cruiser tore open in a blossom of fire, fragments scattering across the void. Cheers erupted across the bridge. For the first time, humans had drawn blood. But it was far from over. Third cruiser charging superweapon, Mara warned. Elena's eyes narrowed. All power to forward shields. Line up our railguns. The Dominion ship loomed large, its spines glowing brighter, the vacuum itself trembling from the energy building. Elena waited, tension coiling in her chest like a spring. Closer. Closer. No! She snapped. The Resolute's railguns thundered. Tungsten slugs, accelerated near light speed, tore into the enemy's core. The Dractari cruiser ruptured in a silent inferno, scattering its corpse across the stars. For a moment, the void was still. On the bridge, breaths came ragged but triumphant. They had faced the monsters of legend, and survived. Holt exhaled, sweat streaking his brow. 3 Dominion ships down. And we're still breathing. Elena studied the wreckage, her expression grim. She knew this was only the beginning. Scouts were just the teeth. The jaws were coming. Send the message to Fleet Command, she said. Tell them humanity's first stand was not in vain. She rose from her chair, voice steady, iron beneath the calm. And tell them we're ready for what comes next. The Dominion fleet arrived like a storm at midnight. 14 warships burst through the Proxima Gate in staggered waves, their spined hulls gleaming with malevolent light. Each vessel dwarfed the Resolute, bristling with plasma cannons and arc lances. They moved with predator grace, formation tight, radiating a confidence earned from centuries of conquest. On the command deck, silence reigned. The human crew stared at the incoming mass of black metal and fire, their faces pale in the glow of tactical screens. Contacts confirmed, Lieutenant Mara whispered. 14 Dominion warships, including 1 battleship. They're spreading into attack wings. Commander Holt cursed under his breath. We're not their prey. We're bait. They know we're trying to stall them for Earth to mobilize. Elena Vargas stood tall at the center of the bridge, eyes locked on the screen. Her heart pounded, but her voice carried only steel. Then let's show them bait bites back. The Dominion comlink blared open again, Carthun's voice thunderous and cruel. Pathetic humans! You dare stand with a single ship against the Dominion? I almost admire your arrogance. Almost. When your wreckage burns, your species will remember its place, chained at our feet. Elena didn't answer. She motioned to cut the channel. Captain? Holt asked. He wants fear, Elena said coldly. Let him choke on silence. The battle began in a sudden, searing flash. The Dominion battleship opened fire, arcs of plasma lashing across the void. The Resolute twisted violently, shields flaring blue as energy slammed into its hull. Drones launched in swarms, scattering like sparks against a bonfire. Shields holding at 70%. Mara shouted. Bring us closer, Elena ordered. Closer? Holt barked. That thing will rip us in half. Not if we get under its guns. The Resolute dove into the enemy formation, weaving between the spine cruisers with frantic precision. Plasma bolts streaked past, each miss a sunbright blaze against the void. Launch decoys! Elena barked. The ship spat flares into the darkness, tricking Dominion targeting systems. Several enemy shots veered wide, detonating harmlessly in the void. The crew braced as the Resolute skimmed the belly of a Dominion cruiser. Railguns thundered, tearing through vulnerable armor seams. Explosions cascaded down the cruiser's spine until it erupted in fire, drifting dead into the abyss. Target down! Mara yelled, exhilaration piercing her fear. But victory was fleeting. The battleship loomed closer, its massive spines glowing with lethal energy. In the Dominion flagship, Overlord Carthon leaned forward, tusked grin wide. So the cattle bite, he rumbled. Then they will be slaughtered like beasts. Overlord, his adjutant hissed. The humans fight with fury unusual for prey. Carthon backhanded him. Fury does not matter against firepower. End them. Back aboard the Resolute, alarms screamed. Battleship charging main cannon! Holt roared. Time to impact? Elena snapped. 20 seconds! Elena's mind raced. We can't dodge a main cannon. But we can blind it. Deploy gravitic mines, she ordered. Her crew hesitated. Those mines were experimental, banned in most human systems. But hesitation lasted only a heartbeat. The devices were released, drifting spheres of warped gravity spinning into the void. The Dominion cannon fired, an enormous lance of molten plasma. But midway, the beam twisted, pulled off course by the mine's gravitational fields. The shot bent wildly, missing the Resolute by kilometers, ripping into one of the Dominion's own cruisers. The enemy ship imploded, torn apart in a spectacular burst. The Resolute's bridge erupted in cheers. Holt slammed a fist on his console, grinning fiercely. They just killed their own. Elena didn't smile. We bought seconds. Nothing more. Seconds proved enough. The Resolute swung around the wounded cruiser, firing torpedoes into its exposed core. Another detonation flared, rocking nearby ships. 2 down, 12 to go, Mara said, voice strained but sharp. The Dominion swarmed, furious now. 3 destroyers broke formation, charging like wolves at a bleeding stag. Brace for impact! Holt shouted. The deck rattled violently as plasma bursts hammered the shields. Sparks showered, consoles cracked, smoke filled the air. A Marine shouted from below decks. Hull breach on deck 5! Seal it! Elena snapped. Her throat burned from smoke, but her eyes remained locked forward. One destroyer came in close, too close. Elena seized her chance. Ramming vector, she ordered. What? Holt shouted. Trust me. The Resolute surged forward, scraping the Dominion destroyer's flank. Metal shrieked across the void, tearing hull from hull. At the last second, Elena ordered. Eject port drones, detonate! Dozens of drones spat out, self-detonating across the destroyer's exposed underbelly. Fire cascaded through the alien ship, ripping it apart in a chain reaction. The Resolute rolled clear, shields flickering, hull burning. We're bleeding, Captain, Holt warned, voice grim. We can't take another hit like that. Elena wipes it from her cheek, her voice unshaken. We don't need to. We just need to show them we're not prey. The Dominion fleet pulled back slightly, confusion rippling through their formation. Their prey had crippled 3 cruisers and destroyed 2 destroyers, with 1 ship. It made no sense. On the flagship, Carthon snarled. They fight like mad beasts. Yes, Overlord, an officer said nervously. And mad beasts can spread fear. Carthon's tusks curled into a grin. Then we shall break them slowly, to crush that fear into despair. Back on the Resolute, Elena knew the battle wasn't won. Not even close. They had drawn blood, But the Dominion still outnumbered and outgunned them. Her crew looked to her, exhausted, bloodied, yet burning with fierce pride. Elena straightened, shoulders squared. "Transmit to Fleet Command," she ordered. "Tell them humanity's blood is in the void. Tell them we are holding the line. And tell them the Dractari will never forget what happens when they challenge Earth." She leaned forward, voice cold as steel. "Because this is only the beginning." The Resolute limped into the shadow of an asteroid field, hull scarred and shields flickering. Fires still smoldered on lower decks, patched hastily by exhausted engineers. Yet the ship lived, and so did its crew. Against all reason, they had faced 14 Dominion warships and destroyed 5. But Elena Varga knew survival wasn't enough. The Dominion had endless fleets. Humanity had one chance: make the enemy fear them. "Status?" she asked hoarsely. Lieutenant Mara wiped soot from her face. "Hull integrity 38%. Shields recharging. We've got 70 drones left in the bay." Commander Holt grimaced. "And 1 railgun barrel cracked. If the Dominion finds us before repair crews finish—" "They won't," Elena cut him off. Her voice carried iron. "We're not hiding. We're hunting." The crew glanced at her, startled. "Hunting? Against the fleet?" "Yes," she said, reading their faces. "They think we're prey. That's their weakness. If we act like prey, we die. If we act like predators, we teach them fear." Hours later, the Dominion fleet swept through the system, searching. Carthun's battleship led the hunt, its spines glowing in the darkness. On his command bridge, the Overlord seethed. "Report! Overlord, 5 of our ships lost," an officer stammered. "But the human vessel, its trail vanished in the asteroid field." Carthun's tusks bared in a snarl. "Then flush them out. Burn every rock. I want that ship destroyed piece by piece." The Dominion cruisers fanned out, plasma batteries igniting asteroids into molten slag. They never saw the trap. The Resolute drifted in silence, hidden in the shadows of the field. Gravitic mines lay scattered like invisible seeds among the rocks. When the first Dominion cruiser passed through, the mines activated, twisting gravity itself. The alien vessel's trajectory warped, its hull tearing apart under impossible stresses. Its crew had no time to scream before the ship imploded. On the Resolute's bridge, Holt exhaled sharply. "That's one." Elena's eyes stayed locked on the tactical map. "Wait. They'll come closer." Like moths to flame, the Dominion closed ranks, thinking the explosion had been a malfunction. When the second cruiser strayed too close, "Trigger the drones," Elena ordered. Swarms of drones burst from the rocks, moving in coordinated arcs. They latched onto the cruiser's hull, drilling and detonating in quick succession. The ship erupted in fire, fragments scattering into the void. The bridge crew erupted in cheers, adrenaline surging. But Elena raised a hand. "Not yet. Save it." They fell silent, watching the trap unfold. On his flagship, Carthun roared in fury as explosions flared across his fleet. "This is trickery!" "Yes, Overlord," one officer said nervously. "Human trickery." Carthun struck him down with a backhand. "They are vermin. And vermin die screaming. Advance all ships!" But even as he spoke, unease rippled through the crew. They had fought hundreds of species, yet never prey that set traps like predators. The Resolute burst from cover, railguns blazing. Tungsten slugs ripped through another Dominion destroyer, cleaving its spine in half. Torpedoes followed, striking a cruiser's reactor. Fire bloomed across the stars. Elena's crew cheered, voices ragged but fierce. 3 in 5 minutes, Holt muttered, awed. "They're hesitating," Mara said, astonished. "They don't know how to move." Elena allowed herself a thin smile. "Good. That's the first taste of fear." The Dominion fleet faltered, breaking formation. Ships that once moved with flawless discipline now veered erratically, paranoid of hidden mines or swarming drones. Their fire grew sloppy, wide arcs instead of precise strikes. Elena pressed the advantage. "Engage them head-on. Drive straight for the flagship. Holt turned, incredulous. The flagship? Captain, that's suicide. No, she said. That's how we finish this. The Resolute charged through the Dominion lines like a wolf among startled cattle. Enemy fire raked its hull, tearing armor, but the ship kept going. Drones spilled from its bays, harassing flanks, blinding enemy sensors. Ahead, the monstrous Dominion battleship loomed, its central spine glowing with the charge of its super cannon. Captain, Mara whispered, if that thing fires. It won't, Elena said. Her hands gripped the chair arms until her knuckles went white. Target their weapon core. Fire all rail guns. The Resolute's remaining barrels thundered. Slugs slammed into the battleship's spines, cracking armor, shredding conduits. Sparks cascaded across the massive hull, though the weapon remained half-charged. Not enough, Holt warned. They'll fire any second. Then Elena played her last card. Launch the gravitic core. The crew stared at her. That device, experimental, unstable, half the scientists on Earth swore it was too dangerous to ever use. But Holt nodded grimly, punching the release. A glowing sphere shot from the Resolute's underbelly, locking onto the battleship's spine. Gravity warped violently, twisting metal like cloth. The Dominion's super cannon detonated inside its own housing. The battleship tore apart from within, a chain of explosions ripping down its colossal frame. The Overlord's flagship, his pride, his invincibility, was reduced to a burning carcass in the void. The silence afterward was deafening. On both sides. On the Resolute, the bridge crew sat stunned, eyes wide as the fireball faded. They're pulling back, Mara whispered. The surviving Dominion ships turned, fleeing into the gate. Predators, once feared across half the galaxy, now retreating from a single human warship. Elena stood, her chest heaving. Her voice was quiet, but it carried across the bridge. They've learned. Humanity isn't prey. We never were. On the Dominion side, words spread faster than fire. Tales of the Resolute, and its captain flew through comm channels and whispers. The humans had destroyed a battleship with one ship. They had fought like predators, like demons. Fears spread through crews who had never known it. In the ruins of his flagship, Overlord Carthon lived, dragged from wreckage by his guards. His body burned, his pride shredded, but his hatred intact. They think they've won, he rasped. No. They've only awakened the storm. But across Earth's fleet, a different message spread. The first major Dominion offensive had been broken. Not by numbers, not by brute strength, but by cunning, defiance, and the refusal to kneel. And every human ship now carried the same fire. For the first time, the galaxy would see not a quiet, neutral Earth, but predators who had been silent too long. The war front had gone silent. Smoke from shattered warships drifted like black scars across the stars. The Dominion fleet, once thought unstoppable, was broken. But silence in war was never peace. It was the pause before the final choice. On the bridge of the Erebus, Captain Marcus Hale stood before the comms display. His uniform was torn, streaked with blood, his own and others, but his voice was steady. Humanity had entered the war it had avoided for centuries, and now every eye in the galaxy was watching. Patch me through, Hale ordered. Lieutenant Arya Kim's fingers danced over the console. All channels open, sir. Every fleet, every Council world, every Dominion warship still alive, they'll hear this. The holoscreen flared to life. Across the void, alien commanders glared back, some defiant, some broken, some barely clinging to the wreckage of pride. Dominion banners flickered like dying embers behind them. Marcus squared his shoulders. His voice carried not just to them, but to every human listening across the colonies. You thought Earth would stay silent forever. You thought restraint was weakness. You mistook patience for fear. Tonight you've seen the truth. We held back because we remembered war. You forced us to remember it again. Murmurs spread among the alien feeds. Hale continued, his voice sharpened like a blade. Humanity didn't want this war. But now that you've brought it to us, know this: we will not fight to survive. We will fight to end it. A Dominion admiral, face pale and scaled like cracked stone, leaned forward, spitting venom. You think one battle wins you the galaxy? We are billions. We are endless. Hale's eyes didn't waver. Endless? He gestured out the viewport where the Dominion flagship still burned, its gutted hull spilling fire into the void. No empire is endless. You just had the misfortune of teaching humans what you feared most, that we are better at war than you are at conquest. The silence that followed was not born of shock alone. It was recognition. Behind Hale, General Ruiz stepped forward, voice low but firm. Captain, intelligence confirms Council worlds are transmitting live. Everyone's listening. This is the moment. Hale nodded. He looked once more at the Dominion leaders. Withdraw. Leave human space. Or stay, and learn the final lesson: Earth doesn't start wars. We finish them. The feed cut. On enemy ships, commanders shouted, debated, broke into panic. Across neutral colonies, whispers turned into cheers. Humanity had spoken with a voice the galaxy couldn't ignore. Arya exhaled. Sir, do you think they'll back down? Hale turned from the screens, the weight of war heavy on his shoulders. They will, for now. Fear buys time. What we do with it decides if humanity survives the century. Hours later, the War Council gathered in orbit above Mars, aboard the massive orbital citadel. Generals, admirals, scientists, diplomats, representatives from every colony. For the first time in 300 years, Earth had called them together not for exploration, not for progress, but for war. The chamber was thick with tension. Maps of Dominion-controlled systems hung in the air like bloodstains. Admiral Casson, the old warhawk of Titan Fleet, slammed his fist onto the table. We can't stop now. They'll regroup. We have to strike first. Take the war to their homeworlds before they recover. Strike first? Countered Chancellor Morgan of the Pacific Bloc. Her voice was sharp with anger. That's exactly what we swore we'd never become. We only fought because they forced us. They will force us again. Casson growled. Unless we make them fear us more than they desire our destruction. The chamber erupted into arguments. Colonies divided, vengeance versus restraint, survival versus principle. Hale watched, silent, until finally Rees leaned toward him. They'll tear each other apart. If you have something to say, now's the time. Marcus rose. The room quieted as if a storm had passed through. I was on the line when Dominion warships breached Europa's shield. He began. I saw children hiding in ice tunnels while plasma fire turned their homes into glass. And I watched Dominion officers laugh about it. I wanted revenge. Every soldier with me wanted the same. He paused, letting the silence bite. But then I remembered what we told ourselves for 3 centuries. Why Earth stayed out of the stars' bloodshed. We didn't come here to rule. We came to endure. And endurance isn't cowardice, it's strength. The chamber was still. Even Casson lowered his eyes. So here's my proposal, Hale said. We prepare for war. We build fleets that will make the galaxy tremble. But we don't conquer, we defend. We don't strike first. We wait. And when they come again, and they will, we remind them, every time, of tonight. That humanity doesn't just fight. Humanity survives. Aftermath. The decision was made. Humanity would not chase war across the stars. But the Dominion shadow would never be far, and Earth was no longer hidden in peace. Weeks later, broadcasts rippled across neutral worlds. Alien merchants whispered it in fear, soldiers muttered it in their camps, even Dominion civilians repeated it with dread. A new phrase entered the galaxy's tongue. Do not wake Earth. Because when the wrong enemy had challenged, Earth had risen, and nothing would ever be the same. End of story. Sparkle's HFY closeout. The wrong enemy forced humanity into war. Instead of just surviving, humans reminded the galaxy what endurance and discipline meant. Sparkle's call to action for your channel. If you enjoyed this tale of humanity's strength, resilience, and terrifying resolve, subscribe to the Void Narratives for more HFY stories.